Tonight, in our coverage, advocacy groups welcome the Supreme Court's decision to review Quebec's controversial Bill 21, calling the move vital for religious freedoms. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm IHRA. The Supreme Court of Canada has agreed to hear a legal challenge against Quebec's secularism law known as Bill 21. The bill was passed in 2019 and bans certain public workers like teachers and police officers from wearing religious symbols on the job. The law has faced numerous challenges in lower courts, with opponents arguing it infringes on religious freedom and minority rights. Supporters of the bill say it upholds Quebec's secular values. The English Montreal School Board is among the parties that have requested the Supreme Court address the issue. Several other groups, like the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, have also sought review of the decision. Other challengers include the Fédération Autonome de l'Enseignement and individuals who have been directly impacted by the law. The Fédération Autonome de l'Enseignement, while supporting secular schools, opposes the law's restrictions on hiring teachers wearing religious attire. The Canadian Muslim Forum and the World Sikh Organization have expressed happiness at the Supreme Court's decision. Commissioner of Official Languages, Raymond Théberge, also welcomes the decision. Théberge says the law impacts the rights of Quebec's English-speaking minority to manage their education system. The federal government has confirmed its intention to oppose Bill 21 before the Supreme Court. Quebec Justice Minister Simon Jolin-Barrette and Secularism Minister Jean-François Robert have issued a joint statement reaffirming their commitment to defending the law. U.S. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order that could deepen tensions in trade relations with Canada. It targets Ottawa's recently implemented digital services tax. The tax, introduced in June, imposes a 3% levy on the revenue of foreign-based digital giants, earning over $1.1 billion annually. It primarily affects companies like Apple, Meta, Amazon, Uber, eBay, and Google. Canadian officials argue that the tax ensures fair contributions from multinational corporations profiting within the country. Trump's America First trade policy prioritizes maximizing benefits for American workers and businesses. It directs the trade representative to investigate whether such taxes are discriminatory against U.S. entities. The policy builds on Trump's authority under Section 338 of the Tariff Act of 1930. The act enables the president to impose tariffs of up to 50% on imports or even ban imports entirely if deemed discriminatory. Opposition to Canada's digital services tax comes from several influential organizations. The Canadian Chamber of Commerce and the U.S.-based Computer and Communications Industry Association argue the tax violates the principles of free trade and could damage cross-border economic ties. Despite this opposition, Katrina Miller, Executive Director of Canadians for Tax Fairness, supports the tax. She urges Canada to collaborate with nations like France and the United Kingdom that have implemented similar measures to devise a unified response to Trump's aggressive trade stance. This escalation could have far-reaching implications for Canada-US relations. The potential for high tariffs or outright import bans raises concerns about the stability of the economic partnership between the two nations, valued at over $725 billion annually. Harvard University has adopted the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of antisemitism. The move has ignited a heated debate about free speech and criticism of Israel on campus. The school has also agreed to draft an annual report for the next 5 years, detailing its response to discrimination and harassment experienced by Jewish students. The school says it will hire a point person to consult with on all complaints of antisemitism. The decision comes within days of the inauguration of President Donald Trump. A lawsuit by Jewish students had alleged harassment during Free Palestine protests last year. The lawsuit said the university failed to protect the students under Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. The International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition has been widely criticized for stifling the right to protest against illegal Israeli occupation. The definition prohibits the criticism of Israel for the displacement of Palestinians during the 1948 Nakba or its ongoing occupation of Palestinian territories. The move by Harvard is not an isolated incident. It reflects a growing trend across U.S. universities. The New York University has recently declared Zionists a protected class. Israeli forces have killed 2 Palestinians today in the West Bank during a military operation in the Jenin refugee camp. The operation, codenamed Iron Wall, began 3 days ago. Eyewitnesses report Israeli soldiers have burned at least 5 homes in the neighborhood. Rights groups are accusing the Israeli army of field executions, mass arrests, and infrastructure destruction. At least 22 Palestinians have been detained since Wednesday. Critics say Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu launched the operation to appease far-right coalition partners following the Gaza ceasefire deal. Since the onset of war, at least 873 Palestinians have been killed in the occupied West Bank. More than 6,700 have been injured. Following the truce in Gaza, the flow of humanitarian aid has started. However, it has done little to alleviate the suffering of the displaced civilians in Gaza. Winter rains have worsened conditions in makeshift shelters. Aid agencies, including the United Nations, are ramping up relief efforts. But they are warning of challenges ahead, including a possible Israeli ban on the United Nations Refugee and Workers Agency. Israel's genocidal war on the Gaza Strip has killed 47,300 Palestinians. More than 111,000 have been injured. Iranian Vice President Mohammad Javad Zarif says the recent Hamas attack on Israel has disrupted planned nuclear talks with the U.S. The talks were scheduled for October 9th, 2 days following Hamas's attack on Israel. Zarif was a key figure in the 2015 nuclear deal. While speaking at the World Economic Forum, Zarif denied Iran's involvement in the October 7th incidents, despite acknowledging support for Hamas. He said Hamas operates independently and that Iran's nuclear ambitions are purely for peaceful energy purposes. Zarif has expressed hope for productive future negotiations with the U.S. He says if Iran wanted to build a nuclear weapon, it could have done it a long time ago. President Trump reimposed harsh sanctions on Iran during his first term as part of a policy of maximum pressure. Amazon is shutting down all its facilities in Quebec, impacting nearly 2,000 employees. The company claims the move will help in cost cutting and shift back to third-party delivery services. Critics, however, say the closures come after the formation of a union by the workers at the Laval warehouse. The union was demanding better wages and working conditions for the employees. The Canadian Union of National Employees is denouncing the closures as a clear act of union busting. The union's president, Caroline Senville, has expressed disbelief at Amazon's decision. The Quebec government says it will ensure Amazon adheres to all labor laws during this process. However, the future remains uncertain for those facing unemployment. The closure dates for the 7 affected facilities start from February 8th to March 22nd. The short period gives employees little time to prepare for the job loss. Amazon had invested significantly in its Quebec infrastructure, including the construction of a massive fulfillment center in Coteau-du-Lac last year. Quebec is grappling with an intensifying rent crisis as the province's rental board recommends an unprecedented 5.9% rent increase for this year. This is the highest adjustment in over 30 years. If implemented, tenants could face an additional $70 per month on a $1,200 rental unit, further straining household budgets. Tenant advocacy groups are outraged. They condemn the recommendation as unjust and demand immediate government intervention. Organizations are calling for a rent freeze and enhanced measures to safeguard affordable housing. They argue that renters are already suffering, with Montreal's average rents surging 7.7% last year. The figure far exceeded the board's proposed increases and placed significant pressure on low and middle-income families. Landlords, however, defend the hike, citing inflation and escalating maintenance costs as justification. Quebec Housing Minister France-Hélène Duranceau acknowledges the mounting challenges for renters, but stresses that the long-term solution lies in expanding the province's housing supply. Duranceau points to the construction of 24 new housing units currently underway, but says hurdles at the municipal level are delaying progress. Experts warn that the rent crisis in Quebec is symptomatic of broader housing market issues across Canada. Quebec's vacancy rate remains critically low, particularly in urban areas like Montreal, where demand for rental housing far exceeds supply. The rent hike could also exacerbate the challenges faced by vulnerable groups, including seniors, students, and low-income families. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News Canada. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetworktv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.